Guys, today you're going to get a special treat because I'm going to introduce somebody that many of you know, one of the best offensive line coaches in all of America, whether it's high school, college, or the NFL. And that's our offensive line specialist here for CoachTF 365, and that's Brian Hamilton. Brian was a client of mine for over 11 years, and at one time, he led the state of California, his team did, in passing. The very next year, they led the state of California in rushing. That shows somebody that understands not only how to coach, but especially how to coach offensive linemen. And today, now he's been in college football for several years, and Brian is going to be the one person that's going to teach you how to make your offensive line a plug-and-play offensive line. He will give you the best details that there is, both in scheme and fundamentals. So if you want to have the best season ever, make sure that you get to CoachTF.com and become one of the top 5% of all the coaches in your profession. Now on to today's offensive line training with Coach Brian Hamilton for CoachTF 365.
Hi, coaches. Welcome to another CoachTF 365 training. I'm Brian Hamilton, offensive line specialist for CoachTF 365. Currently, I serve as the tight ends coach at Texas State University. Previous to that, I was the offensive line coach, run game coordinator, and associate head coach at Murray State, Murray, Kentucky. Before that, I was an assistant offensive line coach at the University of California, Berkeley, where I worked with Coach Franklin. And then where I started my career and where I spent most of my coaching careers as a head high school coach in Concord, California. Also, where I first came in contact with Coach Tony Franklin as a member and client of his offensive system. Today, I'm excited to talk to you guys about what the vertical set is and the three major player advantages to the vertical set in pass protection. So let's get started taking a look at that. So the vertical set, right, starts with one thought, right? One critical thought that all offensive line coaches have. When you change the quarterback's launch point, you got to change the protection. And that protection dictates the footwork and techniques of the offensive line. So when I started playing and started coaching, most of our snaps were from under center. We were 3, 5, 7-step releases. So we had a different protection for 3, 5, and 7-step protection. We had quarter roll protection, we had full roll protection, and we had a full complement of play action protections. But what changed in the game was the quarterback receiving the ball from a shotgun position and dropping back from that shotgun snap 3 steps. So now, rather than the quarterback setting up at the deepest 7 steps from the line of scrimmage, right, he's already 5 at the snap, dropping another 3. So you see a huge change in that launch point. And as Coach Franklin started working with this offensive system, one of the major hiccups was offensive linemen setting and losing at the line of scrimmage. So the thought became, let's lose ground early, engage our blocks later, and provide the quarterback with more time on our set. So the original thought of the vertical set is, as you change the launch point, you got to change the protection, and that's just good football. With the vertical set, we're going to line up as deep as possible off of the center. Right, so the center is going to address the ball, and then every other offensive lineman is going to get in their stance as deep as possible, as legally allowed, right? Which in high school is the helmet on the belt line of the center. We're going to create that space. We're going to explode backwards, stepping with our inside foot first for either 2 or 4 steps. And that step count is important because we want to make sure that we end up with our post foot leading, right? Our inside foot up when we make contact, right? When we punch. We want to reset the line of scrimmage 1 to 3 yards from the original line of scrimmage, and we want to buy a second to a second and a half with our set. We want to engage with a strong inside hand and kick slide using our post foot. So all the techniques of fundamental pass pro, right? Heavy inside foot, right? Staying square as long as possible, right? Half man relationship. Those all take place after the vertical set. So the only thing we're changing is our approach to the block. What are the three main player advantages to the vertical set? The first one is it extends the edge path for the defensive line. So you can see here, Concord High School, we're lined up as deep as legally allowed from the center, right? So we're 3 yards from the defensive lineman's hand to the tip of our shoulder pad, which they're going to try to work for an outside move. We're going to set, right, at 2 to 3, maximum of 4 yards. We're going to create a 6-yard minimum to the tip of our shoulder pad and an 8-yard loop. We're going to make that defensive lineman run a lot further to get to our quarterback. And in doing so, we're going to buy more time for that quarterback, even as we're setting before contact. And I used to make a joke that if we set and then caught a massive hamstring cramp and fell down, right, the quarterback would still get a 1.5 seconds because the defensive lineman had to run for a 1.5 seconds to clear our body on the ground. Number 2, it negates the D-line leverage advantage. So pre-snap, right? Most of us working out of a 2-point stance in this offense. You will see some 3-point stance. The defensive line has a very natural leverage advantage in pass pro. But one step later, you can see us moving back off the ball here, right? You can see 69 dropping that inside foot first. They have to run to us, and that runs them up out of their pad level. That uses up that potential energy in their hips. Okay, so that negates their natural leverage advantage. The third thing it does is it eliminates initial D-line pass rush moves. So when we see the position that this defensive lineman is, his hips are extended. That power is now gone. Both of his hands are engaged. And if we can maintain this block, right, for any significant amount of time, the quarterback's going to have the ball off. But if the defensive lineman wins before the quarterback is able to release the ball, we're going to minimize big hit sacks. That's the number one thing about this protection. Is in any protection you run, you're going to give up sacks. If you throw the ball, you're going to give up sacks. It's part of it. But the type of sack that the quarterback takes is what we're concerned with. We want the quarterback to be pushed down, to be pulled down. We don't want the quarterback to be smashed from the blind side because we miss at the line of scrimmage, and now that defensive lineman has a 7-yard running start. The great thing is, in the CoachTF 365 system, Coach Franklin is coaching the quarterbacks how to move within this new pocket structure. And they've done a great job everywhere that they've been. So the quarterback realizes how we're working, realize how the quarterback's working, and we all move together. Because if you're all on the same page, man, you got a really good shot. In a traditional slide protection, the offensive line is going to slide one way, and the running back is going to slide opposite. Problem with this is our running back ends up blocking a defensive end and 4 down in a lot of grass. It's a tough block for anybody, much less a running back. This naturally pushes the quarterback to half the field because he's going to field that running back versus a defensive end, and he's going to end up working away from it. And this limits 2-hand whole man sets. So because you could be working away from the defensive lineman, you might only get a backside hand on and have a whole hand free, working in a traditional slide. What we see with the vertical set protection is we're just going to slide vertically. The running backs have easier reads and work in a smaller amount of grass. He's got his target. He's got that will. He's got a lot less grass to pick it up in. Now the quarterback has a full field of vision. So all those routes that you're running with 4 wide receivers, quarterback can work all of them because he's not being pushed away from 2 of them, or the single and 3-by-1. And now the offensive line is working the middle of the man with 2 firm hands. Great pass protection. The vertical set protection, there are scheme advantages too, right? And we're going to talk about those in a different series, but it allows you to run 6 and 5-man protection. The key to being able to 5-man protect accurately is to be able to get off the ball and sift the most dangerous 5. By setting vertically, we stand a much better chance at picking up the 5 most dangerous threats, which now allows for another threat, that running back, to be out in space. There are also numerous game plan advantages, right? Including being able to play with tempo. The vertical set allows us to set and let a defense sift to us so we can find those most dangerous 5 later in a rep. We can call it faster, we can play it faster. And that puts a lot more stress on that defense, puts a lot more stress on that defensive coordinator, and puts a lot more stress on those defensive linemen. That's it for today, Coach. So those are the 3 main player advantages to the vertical set, as well as a definition and how to with our vertical set. There's much more where that came from. Keep watching, because we'll be continuing this series every week. If you have any questions or comments, please leave one below. We'd love to hear from you guys.
That's it, everybody. Those are the life-changing, career-changing, career improvement points that we have for today. If you enjoyed this, please go visit CoachTF.com. Better than that, book a call with me today. Get on the phone and give me a call. Improve your life. And then the most important thing, never forget, do something good today for somebody who could never repay you as long as you live. If you do that, you'll have lived a great life.